Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. I am Matt Sassuti, along with Rob, the Broken One, Povia, who's getting a premonition of the greatest teams in hockey history. Scribe! And we have the Darkwing, Brian Daly, who is behind the board today.
And it's a good thing he is, because his brain is not working at all today.
Well, then we picked the perfect day for you to have a brain fart with your top NHL teams. They're all going to be Ducks teams. But anyway.
1993, Anaheim Ducks are the greatest team ever.
Number one overall. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We are brought to you by the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. And today, like we said, we'll go through the top NHL teams. We'll also be talking about a few things that happened in the NHL. Not a whole lot to talk about, as the offseason is pretty much flatlining, slowly but surely. Has a few glimpses of a pulse, but then it just flatlines again.
Well, what did Brian say before the show? 69 days till hockey season. Not too long. Not too long at all. 65.
Close.
I got 69 on the mind. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
69 on the mind. All right.
Hey, that rhymed.
Yes.
Hey, so did that.
You're a poet and you didn't even know it.
Oh, my God. I need a nap.
Oh! All right.
What is going on with our show?
I don't know. What's going on with you?
I don't know.
Well, while Brian contemplates that, we'll dive into our main topic of today, and that is NHL teams in history, some of the greatest teams in NHL team history. And we also have a Twitter poll to go along with that, and that is, what defines a great team? What is the most important part of a great team? Is it a cup, or is it multiple Stanley Cups? Is it something else completely different, or is it legendary players? What defines a great team? Some would say it's a mixture of all three of those things, but others would say no, because there's great teams throughout history that have never gotten their names scratched on the Stanley Cup, which is true. So it's always a bit of debate. There's always a lot of subjectiveness to this, but we're going to dive into our opinions, because our opinions are the only one that matters, on what we think are the top teams in NHL history. And I will start off the festivities at number 10. And at number 10, I have...
Well, hold on. Are we going to answer the poll question? Because I think that affects this list a little bit, though. Don't you think, Maddie?
It does. I was going to wait, but if you want to, we can answer it now.
It's your call. It's your ship. But I'm just saying, I mean, like, one thing that you elicited in me with this poll question is, you know, what does define a great team? Is it one Stanley Cup, multiples, like, you know, most women like, and so I've been told, and or legendary players? And it's a great question. That's why I'm eager, chomping at the bit to get to it.
All right, then. You go ahead.
You know what? Yeah, let's do it. I mean, because there's plenty of great teams that have legendary players, but I can't put them in my top 10 because, to me, it's all about the cup. Not cups, but cup. I think in order to make this list, you have to at least won one. I don't think you get bumped from this list if you've only won one, because multiple, that has the Stanley Cup playoffs is just an immaculate tournament. Very hard, very grueling to get through. And when you're blessed enough, as the Penguins were, to win back-to-back the past two seasons, a lot of things got to go your way. And I just don't think that should be the true definition of a great team. So if I were answering the poll question, I would go with A, Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Just need to get that off my chest. Thank you, brother.
No problem. No problem. Brian, what are you thinking? I know you're kind of running a little slow today. You're a little tired, but can you get the wheels working?
What defines a great team? I'm going to go with other on this one.
So what would your opinion be, since it's a different choice than the other three?
I think it's a mixture of everything. It's a good front office. It's a good coaching staff. It's good personnel that you put out on the ice. It's teams that go out and compete consistently. They're never not a contender for a Stanley Cup. I mean, yeah, you obviously want to go out and win a Stanley Cup. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal when you go into training camp, is to win a Stanley Cup that year. But to me, it's a mixture of everything. It's all the choices you have here and then some. So good front office, good management, good coaching staff, which you'll find with my my number 10 pick. It's just it's everything. It's everything combined.
Okay. My opinion on this one is I'm going to say multiple Stanley Cups. And the reason why is because some of the greatest teams in history have been able to not only win just the Stanley Cup, they've gone on to win multiple Stanley Cups. Now, nowadays, that's extremely hard to do. The Blackhawks and the Penguins are a rare commodity nowadays in the NHL because they were able to build that with the salary cap and everything like that down upon them. But think about it this way. Back in the day, it was so much easier to build a dynasty team because you didn't have a salary cap. And if you found the players that you got in the draft, you most likely kept them for life. They didn't go off and play with another team, usually midway through their career. And 90% of the time, you could go out and grab anybody you wanted to. And if you had the bankroll and you had the payroll, you could do it to anybody. And you could stack the deck on anyone. That's what a lot of these teams did, though. They either developed a lot of really great young talent and used them their entire careers and put some great veterans around them, or they went and got so many veterans with just maybe one or two major players that they had in their system, put that team together and made it work and went on to win not one but multiple Stanley Cups.
I hear you, but you're wrong. Obsolete mule right here. Obsolete mule. I mean, you raise a great point. You say any team can win the Stanley Cup. I don't think any team could win the Stanley Cup. I think you got to be a pretty great team to get through that.
Well,
rickshaw of a tournament.
I mean, true, but you could just have that, impressive season. Look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. They wound up winning a Stanley Cup. They didn't even make the playoffs the next year. Well, actually, it wasn't a season the next year.
Sure.
But the year after that, they didn't even make the playoffs.
Right.
It could happen at any point. I mean, the Kings, they won 2 cups, but how much of that was them and Jonathan Quick? Jonathan Quick pretty much single-handedly got them too. So, and the Kings barely even made the playoffs both of those times, So it's kind of like anything can happen any given year. The Flyers could have won the Cup in 2010. They could have stole a Stanley Cup from the Chicago Blackhawks.
Right.
But it didn't happen. But would we consider them right up there with teams like the Colorado Avalanche and the Detroit Red Wings and, the Penguins of today? I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say yeah to that because they would have been an underdog champion. They've been underdog champions.
No, you do make a good point there. You do make a good point, and it actually opens up the level for legendary player because that one legendary player, Quick, legendary. A little too early to say, but he's on that cusp. He's on that pace, on that journey, and it resulted in 2 cups. Thus, Kings, great team. It's like 6 in one hand, half a dozen in another.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like the teams were different when they won.
Right.
Both cups, but no, I mean, it's everything. It's all that. It really is. And our buddy David Raska chiming in already. Hashtag Let's Go Ducks. Hashtag Let's Go Ducks. He adds another one. Anaheim Ducks, greatest franchise of all time.
Okay.
A little too soon to say, Dave, but very good franchise. I will give them. They are a very good franchise.
They have to catch up, I think, to the Canadians and the Maple Leafs and stuff like that in Cups wise before they can kind of get up to the.
Hey man, this guy bleeds.
Franchise.
This guy.
I love
Dave
it.
bleeds for the Anaheim Ducks, and I love it.
Yeah, I love that. You got that passion for your team. There's nothing wrong with that. Just hold on, pump the brakes just a little bit, just a little bit.
I mean, they're a very good franchise. They're in Cup contention just about every year. Bob Murray has built this team to be, always a contender. When a player leaves, there's always a player ready to take his spot.
Yeah, very, very true.
And I will say this, now that it has been a couple years now since the trade happened, Anaheim has won the Bobby Ryan trade.
I could safely say that would be the case because, I mean, when Bobby Ryan left to go to Ottawa, it was kind of like, whoa, big change. And you thought Ottawa was immediately going to have success. They didn't. It actually took them a little bit for them to get back into full swing of things. And their best season that they've had in the last 5 years was last year. So, it's been a little bit since Ottawa's been a dangerous contender in the last few years. But going through our top NHL teams, and I guess I'll get things kicked off, and we'll continue to define the question of what makes a great team. And we'll have plenty of all those three answers, actually all four, all rolled up into these top lists.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll get started with number 10. And my number 10 is the Colorado Avalanche of 1996 all the way up until 2002. You could also say / Quebec Nordiques because they were that team still by that time.
Sure.
I mean, look at the team that they had. They had Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg in his prime. They had Patrick Waugh came over. They had Adam Foote, Ozzy Lynch. They had, God.
That's your favorite hockey name, isn't it, Adam Foote?
Adam Foote. I just love the fact that it had an E at the end. Like, why is there an E at the end of foot? And why is it pronounced only foot, not footy?
With the Sasquatch foot
With the Sasquatch foot on the
yeah.
patch, which were awesome jerseys, by the way.
Which they're bringing back. Adidas is bringing back the old Avalanche style.
Good. Those were awesome jerseys, and they actually had better play in them, too. So I don't think that's a bad thing. But, I mean, the Colorado Avalanche also went on to win 2 Stanley Cups. They are also one of the few teams to claim that they're the only team to claim they've beaten the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals because that was the only time the Florida Panthers ever made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they swept them. Patrick Waugh beating James Van Beesbrook on the other end. And then he's the only goalie since Jonathan Quick to say that he's beaten Marty Brodeur in a Stanley Cup Final.
Truth be told.
Only Quick is the only one who's the only other goalie who could say that. And Quick faced him when Brodeur was getting up there.
Right.
So Waugh faced him when he was up there in the twilight of his career, and Brodeur was in his prime. And he still beat Brodeur, and they still beat the New Jersey Devils to go on and win the Stanley Cup for the second time. That's a big accomplishment with a team that was as dominant as they were in the East.
Shit, yeah.
So, I mean, I can't say that this team – you can talk to the Detroit Red Wings, too, all about how much they hated the Colorado Avalanche. This was a dangerous, dominant team that, in my opinion, deserves to be in anybody's top 10 list.
Agreed.
Oh, and they were undefeated in the Stanley Cup Finals, too, because they only went to 2. But still. But anyway, Rob, who you got at number 10?
At number 10 is not going to be a popular pick in terms of the people in this room, but I know one Mikey Kleinkoff will love me for this. I'm going with the 90-91 Pittsburgh Penguins as my number 10 team of all time.
I thought you were going with mine.
I'm actually a little surprised that, you know what? Mikey's going to like me for this. That's a little low, I would think, for this team.
Yeah.
Just my personal opinion. I would think so. But go ahead.
No, I got you. I mean, they had a record of 41, 33, and 6, good for 88 points. Notable Hall of Famers on this team: Mark Recchi, Paul Coffey, Jaromir Jagr, Mario Lemieux, Joe Mullen, Brian Trottier, Ron Francis, Larry Murphy. They did win the Stanley Cup that year. They were in the bottom half of the league in goals against, but they still managed to win a championship with their just an absolute offensive juggernaut team, which scored the second most goals in the NHL.
I know why they were second most in goals against, because they had no defense.
Yeah.
It was all offense. That's all that team was just offense, and more offense.
They'd outscore you, and then talking the old NHL, this is like, maybe like 8-6 games.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, something we don't see too much. What you thought a lot of the rule changes back in, what was it, 2004?
It was with the new CBA. They made a couple of rule changes.
Yeah, after the strike.
About that.
Yeah. So it was supposed to, taking away the two-line pass, for example, was supposed to have a resurgence or a reclamation of these years of high-scoring games. And you did. You had that at first, but then coaches are very smart. They re-strategized how to defend it, how to keep a guy back so they didn't cherry-pick you. And now it's back to what I love hockey to be. I prefer 4-2 games are just great hockey games in my book.
Competitive games.
2-1 games, yeah.
Not only that, too, I think goaltending's gotten so much better in recent years than it was back then. No offense to the goalies of old. There were some really good goalies back in the day. But even the best were getting scored on 4 or 5 times, and that also goes to the talent that was rolling around. We're talking about Lemieux, Jágr, who else? We had guys like Wayne Gretzky was playing, Yari Curry, Teemu Selanne just came into the league around this time. These were just some talented players that were they could score at the drop of a hat.
Apparently Raska has a local tie too, but he brings up a good team, the New Jersey Devils of the 3-cup era.
Well, I think see, that's the thing. I think there were 2 different teams. Like the ones that won the 2 in the early 2000s, that was a different team than the one that won in the mid-90s.
They were way different.
Yeah, they were very different team at that time. The one thing that they have that connects them all together is Brodeur, but the one that won in the 90s was a beat-em-up team.
And it was a trap team.
Yeah, a very defensive team.
Employing that trap, it just suffocated other teams' offenses. And, I mean, they still did have the trap for the third one, but I don't think it was quite as defensive-minded.
No, and it wasn't as effective because they had so much more skill on their lines as compared to what they had in the 90s. Because at the 90s, who'd they have scoring goals? I mean, what was it? I think it'd be
Patrick Elias, Dave Andrechuk.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You didn't really. I mean, Claude Lemieux too, because he would have his playoff seasons. But that's pretty much it. You didn't have anybody else scoring goals.
McGillney, I think, was on that team at that point.
McGillney, yeah, but that's
from a
pretty
defensive
much
standpoint in terms of goal scoring. Scott Niedermayer.
Yeah, that's true. Scott Niedermayer. Yeah. So I mean, when you look at the team like that, it was a very different team than the one you had in the early 2000s. Because the early 2000s, you had Peter Sikora, you had what's his name, Brian Gianna. You had
Bobby
Holik, Scott Gomez. These
names give shivers down my spine.
Yeah, I know.
It's like taking a sip of scotch. I love scotch. Scotch.
But I mean, that it was a very different team. But still, though, not a bad nominee for that. I mean, they were 2-1. 3-1 in their all-time, if you want to throw that in there, because they only lost to the Colorado Avalanche. They beat everybody else.
Got to take your lumps with your acclaims.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, not bad on Raska's part on that one. So keep them coming in. Feel free. If you want to, feel free to chime on in at YouTube, Facebook, even Twitter. We do not care. We are equal opportunity social media users here at A2DRadio.com. If you want to throw out your comments and get interactive with us, we love it. Brian, who you got at number 10?
I'm sticking with the same franchise as Rob, but I'm picking a different year.
Okay.
I'm going with this year's past Stanley Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the reason why, and this is the reason why I think that they're one of the greatest teams was, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about it being, it's more than just players and wins. It's dealing with adversity, and the Pittsburgh Penguins of this past season dealt with a lot of adversity in the playoffs. Big injuries at bad times. And they overcame everything. Mike Sullivan did a good job of picking guys to play and, scoring timely goals. And, he was really good at plugging and playing. And this Pittsburgh Penguins team really, they battled adversity. They should not have gotten as far as they did, and they definitely should not have won the Cup. But they went ahead and did it.
I have a lot of admiration for Mike Sullivan because he's just a total crossbreed between that master tactician as well as just that true hockey sense, a la Scotty Bowman. You know what I mean? First name that comes to mind when I think of a great head coach, Joel Quenneville, in that ilk too. So he's got great aspects from that side of coaching as well as that Cooper side, from Tampa, in terms of basing on the statistical analytics of the game as well.
Yep, but the game today versus he combines the game of today with the game of yesteryear.
Mm-hmm.
It is true with Mike Sullivan. I mean, he does have a very good IQ for the hockey world. I mean, just looking at before he even won the Cup, one of the things that should be noted is he actually broke the curse that the Penguins had against the Flyers. And, I mean, the Flyers owned them for a better part of 3 years. When Dan Bousman was the coach, we could do no wrong against the Penguins. We would crush them every game or find a way to win somehow, some way. But when Sullivan took over, that went away. Then the Penguins were just like, now you dread facing them on the schedule. Like, damn it. They found their game again. Could they have not just stayed sucking against the Flyers? But anyway.
Depth of players, too. I mean, certainly they lacked depth for a while. They had the elite stars, but behind them, really not that much. But guys like Brian Rust, Connor Sheary, really coming to prominence has made them a better overall better team.
And comes back to, having a good front office, knowing what you need and how to get the talent to bring them in.
And here's the thing, though, and people want to talk about and here's a perfect example comparison. Why is it that the Capitals have never won a Stanley Cup and the Penguins have won how many Stanley Cups? Take a look at the coaches that they've had. Look at that alone, and you see a lot of the coaches that they've had in the past were very good at adjusting on the fly and very good at changing tactics and very good at playing with you and just giving away nothing. And when you look at the coaches that Washington's had good coaches, but I felt like they've never had a coach that's been able to do that properly. And it's shown on multiple occasions. Then there's a lot of teams that have been guilty of it. The Flyers have had coaches that haven't been able to do that, and they've suffered for it. Other teams that have suffered for it in the past, Sabres, Lindy Ruff for a long time had the same system. Eventually that came back to bite him in the ass. Eventually it did. It took a while, but it did.
Right.
I feel like Ken Hitchcock at times has had his troubles, being able to adjust on the fly like that, and he's lost because of that reason. A lot of coaches aren't able to do that properly, but some of the few coaches, like Mike Sullivan, are able to do that, and it keeps on frustrating other teams because you're just like, how do they keep beating us? Because their coach studies. He knows the game better than you could ever know the game.
Right. Knowledgeable and flexibility is what I'm hearing as two key assets of a fine coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be so rigid on your system. Keep it open because you never know what opponent you're going to get in the playoffs, and you never know what opponent you're going to get in the regular season either. But anyway, good pick on that one. I kept, like usual, active teams off of the list, so they wouldn't be on here, but they would definitely be in consideration, because they'll be up there once it's all said and done, because, I mean, they could win 3. They'll probably win multiple but more after. Will they win it in a row is, I don't know. But they could still very easily win multiple cups going down the line.
They do that. I mean, let's say they do a 3-peat. They're a staple on this list, matching the Islanders of the 80s, the Oilers, the Canadians of the 50s. Yeah, no doubt about it.
In this day and age, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. With the impossible 3-peat that no team has been able to do since that Islanders team. But moving on to my number 9, and this one's going to be a homer one. Feel free to call me out on it. Go ahead. Philadelphia Flyers, the Broad Street Bully era, from the mid-'70s into about around 1980 time when it kind of officially died off. But, I mean, really, though, is it that bad to put this team on here? I mean, they had a lot of talent. They had Reggie Leach. They had Bill Barber. They had Bobby Clark. They had greatest Flyer that ever played the game. You also had Bernie Parent, one of the greatest goalies of all time. And they had Fred Shero, one of the greatest coaches of all time. It just – I don't think that that's as much of a homer move as some people would like to say. I think, honestly, this is one of the better teams in NHL history. People like to say, oh, that's because they had Dave Schultz and they would beat people. I was like, not necessarily. You could beat everybody up all you want to all day, but if you don't have the talent, forget about it. You're still not going to win.
They had it's not a homer move. They had a lot of good goal scorers on that team, a lot of snipers, and Reggie Leach, Bill Barber. People look at his physical style of his game. Man had 420 goals lifetime for the Philadelphia Flyers in the black and orange. So, I mean, the only thing I'm mistaken is maybe too low on the list. I mean, I have them. I'll wait till we get there, but. I mean, what's redonkulous is that when we were planning for this show, I looked at Bleacher Report's list, and they had this Flyers team at 21. I think that's ridiculously too low, but that could be the homer in me. I have been known to show that before.
I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think it's just their reputation. I honestly think that. I still think that today because, let's be honest, the bullies are loved in only Philly. They were hated everywhere else. And the NHL purists, the people who claim they're defending hockey traditions, yeah. Where were you calling Gary Bettman out on his bullshit when you were talking about hockey purity? Anyway, they talk about, like, the bullies, they broke all the rules and everything. It's like, first of all, there were no rules back then. Like, there were maybe 6, 7, 8 rules, tops. The rule book was about this big. Like, seriously.
Can't blame them.
Yeah, when you have this much room to work with, what are you going to do? Like, seriously. You can't enforce rules that don't exist.
Truth.
You know,
Truth
there was
be
no,
told.
I guess you could say, unwritten rules. It's about the same unwritten rules as there are in all sports. People break them all the time.
Rules were made to be broken.
Yeah. Just the way it was.
Or records. I think it's records that were made to be broken.
Well, records, rules, doesn't matter.
Records are made to be
think those-
broken. Rules are meant to be stretched.
That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, though, because
Did I steal your thunder again?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It didn't
No.
matter anyway because the Bullies wound up going to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. They won the first 2. They lost the last one, ending their era from the 2 straight in 74, 75. They lost 76 to the Montreal Canadiens, really the only team that could systematically defeat them in every way, shape, and form. But that was how it was, you know. And to the credit, it wasn't just Larry Robinson. The Canadiens had the talent to match the Flyers, and that's why they were able to beat the Flyers in a sweep. That is why they were able to do that. Let's get that correct. But anyway, that's my number 9. Rob, on to you.
My number 9 is not the Philadelphia Flyers. It's the 1949-50 Detroit Red Wings and the first season of the famous production line that was led by, hockey legend, really the key guy in hockey next to Wayne Gretzky or alongside Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe, as he had a breakout season that year that helped to lead the Red Wings to their first Stanley Cup in the existence of the production line. Their record was 37-19-14, good for 88 points. Notable Hall of Famers on this team: Ted Lindsay, the aforementioned Gordie Howe, Sid Abel, Red Kelly, Jack Stewart, Harry Lumley, Terry Sawchuk, Tommy Ivan, Jack Adams. They're very deserving to be on this list.
Absolutely. Brian, who you got?
You might not like me right now.
Okay.
I'm actually going with the 2009-2010 Chicago Blackhawk team.
Nah.
Nah.
The weird
That's why
part.
it's a hashtag on the show.
I'm
Mhm.
surprised. I'm surprised you picked that one.
Why?
I thought you would pick the one that won the second one, because I thought that one was a lot better than the one that was in 2010. Because they got a lot better by the time they faced the Bruins in that Stanley Cup Finals.
I agree, but I kind of picked this one just to be
Just to be an ass.
thorn in the side.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I mean, granted, they were 52, 22, and 8. Thanks for that, Rob.
I had itchy nose. What are you talking about?
It's allergy
They wound up
season.
finishing first in the Central Division. I believe they wound up finishing first in the NHL in points too. But just to be the team, to be the first Chicago Blackhawks team in years to win a Stanley Cup was pretty awesome to see. And the team as young as it was, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews had just come into the league. You add a piece like Marian Hossa.
Finally winning a cup after
Winning
being
a
on the
cup.
opposite side in 2 failed occasions in
Yeah.
the same matchup.
In the same matchup twice, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was just something about this team. This team just had the spark, and they had the will to win.
Yeah. I mean, President Trophy winning team. It's hard to argue how they couldn't be on the list, and I think it represents that error, that still exists.
Especially
there in Chicago.
considering that little curse that's on that President's Trophy winning team. It's not often that they win the Stanley Cup.
I think
they won it that year.
I think they're the only one in recent present in terms of President Trophies winning.
The last team to do that before Chicago was Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Agreed.
was.
I can't give you the year. I believe it was the 90s, but
No, I think it was actually, I think the team 2008.
was it?
I think they won the
I can look
President's
that
Trophy
up.
in
Did they?
2000. I
Then
think
I would
they
be
did.
incorrect.
I could be wrong, but I think they won the President's Trophy in 2008, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup that year.
I can look that up. But yeah, that's my number 2, or
All right.
number 9,
Number
as
9.
it were.
The second one you announced. Yeah. All right, on to number 8. And number 8 for me is the big bad Bruins, the Boston Bruins. I mean, do I have to really name the players? Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Wayne Cashman. I mean, that team was just, God. I don't know how the Flyers beat them in 74. Really, I don't know how the hell they did that. They just pulled off a miracle on that one. But that team was just dominant through so many years. They had at least 3 or 4 guys in the top scoring every year. And they wound up winning only 2 Stanley Cups, shockingly, with that team. But I'll tell you the reason why they only won 2. It's because of the Montreal Canadiens. But that's a different story for a different time. But that Boston Bruins team with that Bobby Orr era was just unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. There's no denying that. It's interesting that my number 8 is the team that was able to beat that team, as you just mentioned, and here's where the Fly guys show up on my list. I'm talking about the 74-75 Philadelphia Flyers with 2 major award winners on this team. Bobby Clark won the MVP, while Bernie Parent won the Vezina. The Flyers were led with star power, but had a phenomenal supporting cast, as I was indicating before. Many will argue that the team was just a bunch of fighters, as you were saying, but you got to remember Moose DuPont had 32 points. Bob Kelly had 29 points, and even Dave Schultz had 26 points and a lot of goals. He was actually a goal scorer in his junior and AHL days, and it was just very ironic that he turned into more of that enforcer fighter, but he could still score and really gave the proof that they could contribute on the offensive side of the puck. They defeated the rising New York Islanders and the Buffalo Sabres in the final 2 rounds en route to a Stanley Cup repeat. So, of course, not talking about the team that beat the Bruins, the team after I'm identifying with, because the difference here is all these other legendary teams I was saying had around 88, 90 points. Philadelphia Flyers that year put up 113 points in that era. Very impressive. 51, 18, and 11. And Bleacher Report puts him at 21. Get the freak out of here. We had Bobby Clark, Bill Barber, Bernie Parent. You got to remember, upper brass, since we talked about that being a key component of a great team. You talked about Fred Shero. What about Keith Allen? And Ed Snyder, the legendary, really being a contributing factor to hockey coming to Philadelphia. A big factor.
So you were right about Detroit. 07-08, they won the President's Trophy, wound up winning the Cup. I, however, was wrong. In 2009, 2010, the Washington Capitals wound up being the President's Trophy winner that year, losing in the quarterfinals to Montreal.
Yeah, I remember that series.
However,
that was a funny series.
I was right about Chicago being a President's Trophy winner while winning the Stanley Cup. But that was in 2012, 2013.
Okay, so it was their last one.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, real quick, my number 8 is the 2000-2001 Colorado Avalanche. I thought they were probably one of the best Colorado Avalanche teams of all time. And just to see Ray Bourque win one was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was very deserving of one. In my opinion, one of the top 3 best defensemen of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado that team was so loaded. That team was just so scary. Some of the teams that they faced too, they would crush easily. That was back when the Western Conference, the first 2 rounds were pretty much sweeps, and then the Western Conference Finals was Detroit versus Colorado. That was the commonplace Western Conference final back in the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, back in that time, it was Detroit and Colorado. That was it. Really it.
There was nobody else. I mean, I guess you could throw Dallas in there because they had a pretty decent team. But other than that, though, forget about it. The Ducks hadn't come along yet. The Oilers were just an underdog team. Vancouver, the same thing. St. Louis sucked. It was. Yeah. It was, I mean, it was only those 2 teams pretty much at that time. So, yep. But anyway, so we got through all the way to number 8, and we will pick this right back up where we left off at number 7 on the other side. But first, We want to talk to you about the Sports Outlet. They are for all your sporting needs, and they are located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. You give them a call at 856-939-2030, and you can email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com. This is the Hockey Happy Hour on A2D Radio.com. We will be right back after this. A2DRadio.com is sponsored by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all your sporting needs. The Sports Outlet.
A2DRadio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com.
You think Wayne
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape? Then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
Fellas, you ever come in from that baseball or football game and your woman won't come near you because you stink beyond belief? Then you need Soap Stash. You should never settle for a generic hygiene product that only covers up the stench. Treat your skin with the best nutrients. Feel clean with the only soap you'll need. The highest grade carrier oils are ingrained in all of their products, which are 100% natural and terrific for your skin. No sulfates, parabens, or phthalates, and synthetic fragrance free. Contact Soap Stash for your sample package and give your woman what she deserves. You can contact Soap Stash at 844-890-3197 or visit them on the web at soapstash.com or Facebook at Soapstash LLC. Once again, their number is 844-890-3197. Soap Stash, the new soap standard. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour. We are live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. And we are brought to you by Liberty Event Rentals, located at 2154 East Cambridge Street in Philadelphia, PA. You can give them a call, 267-314-7368. You got tables, chairs, tents, linens, anything for your party or event needs. Labor Day will be showing up. If you want to do a Labor Day party, feel free to give Liberty Event Rentals a call, or you can look them up online at www.libertyeventrentals.com. All right. We are back here in the BMW Atlantic City studios going through our top 10 NHL teams of all time. Feel free to give us your top 10 if you wish, or give us an opinion of what you think defines a great team, which is the Twitter poll question. The choices were cup, multiple cups, legendary players, or is it something completely different than that? Either way, I do believe we have some comments. I'm not sure on which. So
Absolutely.
We'll find out.
We'll go with the with the poll comments on Facebook in regard to that question. Greg Milakovic chimes in D, sustained success. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Greg, but I think multiple cups determines, sustained success. So I think that we cover that in that option, but it can be, just because you don't win the cup, if you're regularly in the tops in in your respective conference and making the playoffs year after year after year, that could define a great team as well. And several of the teams we're talking about do fit that mold. Timothy Bileski chimes in. This is a really detailed comment. Really appreciate it, Tim. Sustainability, good coaching, good GMs, and a good developmental farm system to scout what they can be considered with year in and year out and see where they stand with future profitability, to bring in the right personnel, marketing in areas to draw a fan base from. And the old cliche, it will take money to make money, and always to draw and support a good fan base so they will have a future for the youth in the surrounding area of the future to come and be stronger contenders for a long time. That's a great monologue. It's like, sitting on an alligator saying, I monologue. Am I on?
I'm a monologue.
Sorry, I screwed up your joke from before. But he raised a lot of good points, and I think that's what you were saying earlier in the show, Brian, too, that it goes from starts with the front office all the way down to the farm system. Frank Farinella chimes in, it's all about the cups. Nothing else matters.
So I guess this would be B.
I could
multiple
definitely
cups.
see. I mean, a lot of people think that it's just cup after cup after cup. How many can they win in a certain span?
Well, I mean, when you think about it, though, all the great teams throughout history, most of them, and that's not just in hockey, it's in all sports, most of the time they have more than one championship to their name.
And it goes back to, what even Greg said, sustained success.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, really, though, it's funny because all of that does encompass sustained success. I mean, when you think about it, because if you are in the playoffs every year, probability law, very good chance you could very easily win multiple championships because you're there almost every year. Doesn't happen to the Philadelphia teams, but, it does, there is possibility. Either way. Keep the comments coming in, though, on Facebook, and I do believe we have some comments coming in from the one and only David Roska.
We do. My friend David over here, should the Capitals should have won back-to-back cups. One last year, one into this year.
They should have. Did they, though? Clearly not. What happens is that the Capitals, they always find a way to be a regular season darling, and then when they go to the postseason, they absolutely shit the bed. They find a way to do it every single time.
Great strength in the regular season, not so much in the playoffs. And in order to be a great team, I think you need to be great at both. Not only leading your points in your division and respective conference, but also shift that gear because it is night and day. It's a different game. You see it starting in, say, like the last 20 games of the regular season, especially for those teams where their playoffs really start there and they're trying to get into playoff position and then, of course, into the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, should they have won? Talent-wise, yes, but my answer is no because they're not a great team. If you think about a team and all the nuances there within, they didn't fit that bill.
No, I kind of agree with you because this past season, that was a team that was built to win the Cup, and they still didn't.
Right.
Yeah, and when it got to gut check time in Game 7, they absolutely shat the bed and lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins, like most good Capitals teams do. They always lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Tradition did not die at the end of this year for those traditionalists out there.
He did leave another interesting comment. I kind of want your guys' takes on it.
Sure.
The Stanley Cup team that the Ducks put together. What do you guys think about that roster?
Oh,
that
the 06-07?
The 06-07 team.
Well, they had Scott Niedermayer, Rob Niedermayer. They had Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry in their rookie years.
Right. I was going to say it was at the beginning of the year.
Chris Pronger, and Andrew McDonald. Not Andy McDonald, not MacDonald, like the one that's on the Flyers. The one that we wish would get off the Flyers, but different circumstance. I think they traded him the next year too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they traded him to St. Louis.
Yeah. But Timo Solani.
Travis Moen.
Joe
DePenta.
He was on that team. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Joe DePenta, I believe. I'm blanking on one of them.
And then
hang on, I'm just going to look up the roster.
in goal was J.S. Jaguar, backed up by Ilya Brizgalov.
Oh, Getzlab was on that team, too.
Yep.
Yeah, it was his
rookie year for the
year.
Twins.
Yeah, I didn't realize they dated back that far. I was just looking at Bleacher Report's list. They have them at 45 of their top 50. So a great team, yes. Are they a top 10 great team? No.
I mean,
But a great team nonetheless. I mean, they had put up 110 points that year.
they would be considered a great team because even though they only won one cup, they had the talent to consistently, like we said, sustain success. They were constantly in the playoffs. It just they could never get back to the Stanley Cup Finals. It was just some bad luck they would run into the following years. I mean, what was it? Next year they lost to the Red Wings in the
Western Conference Finals in Game 7, I believe.
Yeah, which eventually became the Stanley Cup champion, which actually, come to think about it, even if the Ducks had won that, I think they probably would have gone on to beat Pittsburgh that year. I think whoever won that series would have eventually won the Stanley Cup, to be honest with you.
There's a couple other notable names off of that roster. Todd Marchant, Chris Kunitz, Francois Beauchemin, Todd Fedoruk.
Todd Fedoruk, that's right. That's right. Wasn't that like one of his final years in
one of his.
Yeah, in the NHL. Todd Fedoruk. Former Flyer, too.
Yep. Dustin Penner, Sammy Paulson, and George Parrish. Just the other notable names.
Dustin Penner. There we go. There was somebody I was trying to name.
Oh, yeah, and Sean Thornton. I forgot he was on that team.
Thornton. That's right. I mean, that was a really good team. That was a really well-built team. I mean, I know they went and got Scott Niedermayer, and they also went and got Chris Pronger because Pronger was playing on the Oilers the previous season.
We traded. Who did we trade?
And that's Pronger in his heyday, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget who we traded for him. I know we got Lucas Spiza and Joffrey Lupul in return when he went to the Flyers.
Yes, that is true. Because who did we trade? We traded Joffrey Lupul, and who did we get for that?
Chris Pronger.
Yeah, that's right. We did get Chris Pronger for that. Duh. That turned out to not work out for us. But anyway.
Timothy Bileksi chimes back in and he goes, true, but guys, to build a monster, you need to feed a monster. So
I'm not sure. I don't follow that one.
Farm system.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I got you.
Feed the monster. Yeah. But
which is why most of these teams are still contenders, that have been contenders for years is
well, yeah.
To what Tim said, you're feeding the monster.
Well,
That's what Anaheim does.
Yeah, Anaheim has never had a tipping off point when it comes to playoffs. They've been in the playoffs,
every year for the last few years, except for I think it was the one shortened season they had. They were just putrid.
There was a lot of teams that were putrid that year that wound up making the playoffs the following year. So that really, I don't even know if that counts. The Islanders made it that year, and they got crushed by the Penguins.
Well, it was a 32-game schedule due to
I
the
think
strike?
so. It was the second strike that they had.
Yeah, so
something like that.
That's a very short, sample size to get to where you need to be in a season.
Yeah,
Agreed.
they have very short season in that. But with that all being said, though, more talking about, what defines a great team, I mean, the Ducks, I would say they were a great team. Sadly, they just ran into bad luck. They did win a cup, though. So they did win a cup. It's not like they were one of those great teams that'll go down in history as like, oh, man, they were so good. But, what could have been? What could have been a great year for them this year or that year?
I think that this year that qualifies for that exact description that you just said.
What could have been?
What could have been? Great team. Some injuries, but the players played through the injuries. So, I mean, there's really no excuse.
Broke their Game 7 curse.
That was probably about the only good thing that came out of it.
Yeah, against an Edmonton Oilers team that was giving them every bit of run for their money.
That Edmonton Oilers team is going to be really good one day.
One day. They might be good next year. Let's just put it that way. They may arrive. They may have arrived. Let's just put it into perspective here. That Edmonton Oilers team may have arrived.
Well, I mean, they were good even this season, but I think what Brian's referencing is good equaling elite.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. But anyway,
bingo.
On to our number 7 on our top 10 NHL teams list.
He just doesn't get me.
Well, we do 2 shows together, so we're more simpatico. I always pick up what you put down.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We don't ever get each other. That's why we argue all the time. But anyway.
Which is another great dynamic of this show.
Right.
Man, I wish I brought some beers with. Next week, or not 2 weeks when we come back from hiatus, I'll bring us some beers for make it a true happy hour.
Awesome, because it is happy hour.
Maybe a little JD.
On to number 7. For me, the Detroit Red Wings of 97 into the early 2000s, even though they were a little different from time to time, it still had that core. When you think of that era, the weird part is I don't think of the Russian players. I think of Darren McCarty. Is it weird to say I think of him when I think of that era of the Detroit Red Wings?
Fine player.
When I think of the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm kind of with you on my number 7, I think Nicky Lidstrom. I think
Lidstrom, yeah.
Sergei Fedorov. I think the one and only Steve Yzerman.
Steve Yzerman, yep. And those guys never left. They were there through that entire run. So, I mean, they wound up winning 3 Stanley Cups with that team. And they were, before the Penguins last year, the last team to do back-to-back. The unfortunate 97 year against the Flyers, and then sweeping the Washington Capitals, the Capitals' only berth in Stanley Cup Finals history. And then they wound up beating in 2002, of all teams, the Carolina Hurricanes. A team that shocked the whole world that managed to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Their goalie's last name, too, remember it to this day, Urbe. I still remember
Authors
it.
Urbe.
Yeah. Still remember it to this day.
Now, was Konstantinov on that era of the Red Wings, or was that after his accident?
I think he was part of the 97
He was part
team.
of the 97. Yeah. Larionov was through the whole thing.
Right.
He was through the whole thing.
Right.
Igor Larionov. Wow.
But, yeah, that team was just, again, Colorado, Detroit, they owned the West back then.
And they're historically noteworthy, too, with Sergei Fedorov being the first really defector of the Red Army team coming to the NHL, really opened up an avenue for all future Russian players to come to the NHL. So, really a historical standpoint there for this squad you described.
Very, very true. Very, very true. I think I don't even think he wasn't even picked by the Red Wings. He was picked by the Devils.
Yes, sir.
And the Devils traded him because he never came back. He wasn't coming over from Russia. Boy, the Devils had to have been thinking, damn it, we could have had our dynasty 3 years earlier if we had just held on.
Just a little more patience. Yeah. Man, they have bad luck when it comes to Russia between him and Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah, and going back. Between defectors and undefectors, or whatever the hell you say to say that you're going back. But anyway.
Works for this.
Well, Ilya Kovalchuk will be back next year.
Yeah.
He will be. Well, he won't be back with the Devils, though.
No, his contract will be up.
Yeah, so, boy, man, you talk about just giving one of these to that organization.
He's like, fuck New Jersey. I don't want to play in New Jersey. Well, fuck you then. We don't want you.
Well, no one wants to live here. I guess no one wants to play here either. But anyway, moving on to Rob, your number 7.
My number 7 is the first instance of the Edmonton Oilers dynasty. So I'm going to reference the 87-88 Edmonton Oilers begrudgingly. They failed to beat out Calgary for the division crown, but their depth on offense mixed with Grant Fuhr and net really helped clinch the dynasty's 4th championship in the 80s. They had a record of 44, 25, and 11, good for 99 points. Some of the notable Hall of Famers, of course, our thumbnail recipient, Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Glenn Anderson, the aforementioned Grant Fuhr, Glenn Sather. This is a really dynamite team, and, of course, Stanley Cup winners.
Yeah, of course. And that team you mentioned, too, the team that beat them out for that division, too, that's another great team that almost never got their name on the cup, and that was the Calgary Flames.
Yep.
They just managed to barely get it in under the gun when they beat the Montreal Canadiens in 1989. By just sheer dumb luck, they were able to pull that off. But, yeah, man, that's a great choice. I mean, you could put any of those Edmonton Oilers teams. I mean, Mark Messier, Yari Curry, the list goes on and on of who they had.
Yeah, they pop up later on my list again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. They're just dominant team. And if you think you could get by their defense, then you had to face Grant Fuhr, and Grant Fuhr was one of the best goalies of all time to go along with it. People forget that. It's just like Grant Fuhr is also one of the best goalies ever.
Yeah, sir, and certainly another historical landmark, too, being one of the first successful black men in the NHL as well, having to deal with, some of the aspects that Jackie Robinson had to deal with. I mean, not quite to that extent. We're talking years later in this country's acceptance or actually, more civil unity. Grant Fuhr still had to fight a lot of those racial stereotypes in his career.
Yeah.
Some players still have to face it nowadays, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame.
It is a shame, yeah. Well, hopefully one day we can get to an era where that's non-existent, but sadly that's asking a lot of ignorant people to stop having ignorant views.
As long as there's hatred in the world, there's always going to be racism.
Always will be. Always will be. But that's a great choice on that one. I'm sure we'll be seeing the Edmonton Oilers a little bit later on. Mr. Daly, who do you got at number 7?
Well, I agree. I was agreeing with you at number 7 with the Detroit Red Wings.
Awesome. Holy shit, we agreed on something. All right, moving on to number 6.
Been in the air today. Me and Doug Fresh having the same top 5. What's going on here, man? Need to argue more.
Bad things are bound to happen. We're agreeing way too much. On to number 6 for me, and that would be the Toronto Maple Leafs of the 1960s with the Tim Hortons and the rest of them. Just a great franchise, and they wound up being the only team that could rival the Montreal Canadiens of that era during that time period where it was the original 6. The Bruins were okay, but they couldn't really match up to the Canadiens. There was big brother, little brother. Really the only team that could match them besides the Red Wings, and that was iffy at times, was the Toronto Maple Leafs. The only team that consistently matched them in both offense, defense, goaltending, and managed to one-up them in the Stanley Cup Finals because the World Expo came to Montreal one year. And the Montreal Canadiens already had a spot picked out for the Stanley Cup. They lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup Finals. They had to give that spot to the Ontario tent.
That's unreal. Talking about somebody not knocking on wood there and totally jinxing yourself.
That's just great. I love it. Nothing like, putting your foot in your mouth. Sports sometimes they just have that history of you putting your foot in your damn mouth and losing it.
Hey, I ain't hating. I do that on a weekly basis here at A2D Radio.
But either way, though.
Two of us.
Yeah. Tim Horton-led Toronto Maple Leafs. Rob, who you got at number 6?
Well, ironically, I go with the Montreal Canadiens team here at number 6, and I'm going with the 23-24 Montreal Canadiens, really going way back in NHL's 100 years of history.
Roaring 20s.
Yes. This is the first time the Canadiens won, the NHL's version of the Canadiens, that is, won the Stanley Cup, and they failed to lose a single game through the NHL playoffs and the Stanley Cup Finals, just doing the Golden State Warriors type rick shot through the playoffs. Notable Hall of Famers from that team, a lot of names that I can't pronounce, but one of them, George Vezina.
George Vezina, yeah. There. Let's see, I think that's Alray Juliot, Howie Morenz, Sprague Clyhorn, and Joe Malone.
What he said.
Couldn't pronounce Joe Malone.
Hi.
Rob's
I'm sorry, I had to.
Rob's going to keep that in his mind. He's got a bullet in the chamber. He's just going to wait to pull it. You know it's coming.
I gave up after Morenz. I was just like, if it's not Chloe Morenz, I don't give a fuck.
Fair enough. I'm sorry, I had to.
She's too young for me to be talking about on the air. Gonna get my mind out of the gutter.
Wait a
She's
minute.
over
You
18.
get, hold on, Rob. You get your mind out of the gutter?
Never.
Yeah, I was gonna say what? Delete. On to you, Mr. Daly. Who you got at number 6 here?
Oh my God, my computer's having a spasm.
That's a great moment to have it.
The 93-94 New York Rangers. I think the call heard around the world. I think that alone is just
The Matteau. Oh, yeah, Stephane Matteau, Mark Messier, my favorite hockey name, Jeff Bookeboom. What other ones? Mike Richter, of course, in goal.
I just thought Mike Keenan stubbed his toe and he was going, my toe.
Actually, too, they're also one of the few teams that I'm pretty sure the whole NHL was rooting for. Get rid of those damn Devils in that Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, we also wanted them to lose to Vancouver, but that didn't happen.
One of the first times I remember a sports athlete making a guarantee and actually living up to it with Mark Messier's guarantee that they would win Game 6.
I think
Yeah, it
so.
was Game 6 because they were down.
Right.
They were actually down in that series.
I mean, the fact that he did that and he delivered was, to me, that great. And I think obviously he's one of the greatest players of all time.
Not only was it a guarantee, it was also a nail in the coffin to the other team. Because after they did that, they killed the New Jersey Devils. Not saying that they won it guaranteed in Game 7, but that's just like that's a moment of just magic. Nothing's going to go wrong for your team. You're going to pull it off at the end of the day. It killed the Devils that year.
Agreed.
All right, on to number 5. This will be my first of 2 Montreal Canadiens teams that make this list, and this one is the Golden Age Montreal Canadiens, 1952 on to the 1960, back when Mr. Maurice the Rocket Richard was leading the way. That team just absolutely crushed every team in front of it, won every Stanley Cup for God knows how long. They had some periodic breaks, but forget it. They owned the Stanley Cup during that time period. When we talk about why is Montreal the hockey team in history, it's because of this team. This team absolutely dominated that era of hockey. When you thought hockey, you thought of Maurice the Rocket Richard and the Montreal Canadiens during that time period.
Right. Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Rob, who you got at number 5?
At number 5, the 77-78 Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to go with number 5 here. Arguably the greatest offensive team in NHL history. The Canadiens scored an incredible 359 goals.
I see what you did there. You skipped a year, so that way it wasn't the team that beat the Flyers in the Stanley Cup Finals. I see what you did there.
That was the pause and the hesitation. Yeah. But also, 359 goals. The second-place team, just to give you some perspective that year, was the Red Wings at 252. So, it was 107 goal difference. Their defense led up 183 goals as the team simply swept through the season, then beat the Bruins in 6 games to claim the Stanley Cup. 11 of their players scored at least 40 points.
Was it that year or was it the other? Was it another year that it was looking like the Bruins were going to eliminate the Montreal Canadiens, and they had that famous look of Don Cherry just giving that bow?
Oh, it was that year, yeah.
Then what's his face? Guy Lafleur came down and scored the goal.
Yep.
He tied the game up, and then the Canadiens won. Oh, my God. That's just great.
Their record in that year, 59, 10, and 11, good for 129 points. Some notable Hall of Famers on the team: Sam Pollock, Scotty Bowman, Guy Lafleur, as you just mentioned, Jacques Lemaire, Steve Shutt, Larry Robinson, Guy Lapointe, Serge Savard, Bob Gainey, Ken Dryden. You could make an argument for this team being number 1, but I'm putting them at number 5.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Ken Dryden was one of the few goalies in history to win in his rookie year.
Yes.
All right. So great pick on that one.
Thank
you. Hard to top that one. That would be a great matchup too. The Canadiens of that era versus the Canadiens of the 50s. Holy cow, that would be a great series to watch.
We do have to. Maybe we can put out some polls on that.
Yeah.
Who would win?
Yeah, who would win that series? Whew. You know what? No one would. The arena would explode.
That would be fun for any sport, really, from the station to put out, like the Steelers of the 70s versus the Cowboys of the 90s, who would win that matchup and kind of maybe even make it like a bracket tournament or something.
Or like
that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, right.
Or like the dominant Yankees of the 50s versus the Yankees led by, what's-his-face?
Derek Jeter?
The manager. What's his name?
Joe Torre?
Thank you, Joe Torre.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. Thank you. I don't know why I think of Joe Torre when I think of that year of the Yankees. But anyway.
It's very,
That's
very
what
plausible.
everybody thinks about when they think about the Yankees of that year. It's Derek Jeter or Roger Clemens or Joe Torre.
Yeah. Well, you think Joe Torre, I know we don't spend too much time on baseball on this hockey show, but, they won a World Series with Scott Brosius as your third baseman. I mean, a lot of managerial influence in terms of their success in the 90s.
Yep.
Who you got, Mr. Daly?
Number 5,
Let's see.
I got the 88-89 Calgary Flames.
Ah, there we go. The
With
team
the
that almost
stash.
didn't do it. Yeah, Mr. Lanny McDonald. That's right. That was a great team. Again, another one that almost didn't do it. Almost. Just under the gun, they managed to pull it off, and they beat the Montreal Canadiens that year.
That was the year we were introduced to Mr. Joe Nieuwendyk.
Yes, Mr. Joe Nieuwendyk. Also other great players on the team with Tion Fleury. And then I do believe Mike Vernon was in goal for them as well during that time period.
I think he was.
Yeah, so Mike Vernon actually has 4 Stanley, no, 3, because he was not on that 2002 team. But he has 3, not just his 2 with Detroit,
Right.
in case anybody was wondering.
Yes.
But
There was another
yeah.
goalie there in 01-02.
I think it was Hasek. It was Hasek who won that. Because he wasn't going to win one with the Sabres. There's another great team that never got their name on the cup. Great. Sorry, I had to dig at the Sabres. I just have to. I hate them. All right, moving on. On to my number 4, my next Montreal Canadiens team. This one is the 1970s up to the 1980s of the Montreal Canadiens. And this team dominated all the way up until 1980 when another dynasty took the torch from them. We'll talk about them later. But that team was, you pretty much named off all their great players. That's an all-star team.
Oh, yeah.
That the NHL All-Star game that year should have been NHL All-Stars versus the Montreal Canadiens.
And the Montreal Canadiens still win.
Yeah, the Montreal Canadiens
Yeah.
still win. Even
Yeah.
if it's a 7-game series, Canadiens still win.
Yeah.
That's just as simple as that. All right. On to you for your number 5. Oh, your number 4.
Number 4, and we just made reference to him. I'm going with the 01-02 Detroit Red Wings.
All right, then.
Yeah, they had 116 points, a record of 51-17, 10-4 as we started moving into the OT. They were tied for 3rd in the league in goals against and having led the league in goals for. The 01-02 Red Wings had one of the most superstar-laden rosters in NHL history. Just to go through all these notable Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers: Brendan Shanahan, Sergei Fedorov, Brett Hull, Nicholas Lindstrom, Luke Robitaille, Steve Yzerman, Igor Larionov, Chris Chelios, Pavel Datsyuk, and the aforementioned Dominik Hasek finally winning a cup.
Yeah, that was a crazy team. That was like the stacked teams when you didn't have a salary cap and you tried to make it happen. Well, that was that team was who was going to beat them? Who was going to beat them? Only one team could beat them, and they crushed them in Game 7. So it didn't matter. Moving on.
You want to talk about a stacked team? Well, let's talk about the 91-92 Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
They were a stacked team. Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr. I forget who was in net. I believe it was Tom Barrasso?
Yeah, Tom Barrasso.
Si, senor.
Yeah, it was a good team. They deserved to win a cup the year that they did.
Yeah, they annihilated the team they faced in the Stanley Cup Finals that year too. Actually, they annihilated both teams they faced in the Stanley Cup Finals. But we'll talk about them a little bit more later on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Coming up, we continue our top NHL teams. We're getting to the nitty-gritty. Top 3, folks. Top 3. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more. But first, I want to talk to you guys about the BMW of Atlantic City, because we are in the BMW of Atlantic City studios. Have you ever wanted the ultimate driving experience? Well, then you got to go to BMW of Atlantic City. They're easy to get 2 minutes off of exit 37 of the Parkway, located 6037 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Sports outlets in Glendora. Never mind. Their phone number is 609-568-9200, and they are online at www.bmwatlanticcity.com. This is the Hockey Happy Hour on A2D Radio.com. Don't go anywhere. Top 3 coming up next. A2D Radio.com is sponsored by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all your sporting needs. The Sports Outlet.
A2D Radio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com.
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape? Then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
Fellas, you ever come in from that baseball or football game and your woman won't come near you because you stink beyond belief? Then you need Soap Stash. You should never settle for a generic hygiene product that only covers up the stench. Treat your skin with the best nutrients. Feel clean with the only soap you'll need. The highest grade carrier oils are ingrained in all of their products, which are 100% natural and terrific for your skin. No sulfates, parabens, or phthalates, and synthetic fragrance free. Contact Soap Stash for your sample package and give your woman what she deserves. You can contact Soap Stash at 844-890-3197 or visit them on the web at soapstash.com or Facebook at Soapstash LLC. Once again, their number is 844-890-3197. Soap Stash, the new soap standard.
You're listening to the Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2DRadio.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour. We are live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. And we're brought to you by the Soap Stash. They are the new soap standard. You can treat your skin with the only soap you'll need. They have the best nutrients with the highest grade carrier oils that are ingrained in all of their products, and they are 100% natural, nothing synthetic. Their phone number is 844-890-3197. They also have a Facebook, which is where they prefer to get their orders from, so you can hit them up on Messenger at Soapstash LLC, and you can visit them on the web at www.soapstash.com.
You're a sick son of a bitch. I'm glad you're dead. You didn't do it, so I did it.
I was waiting. I was actually going to pick a moment for you to. I was picking a moment.
I ruined everybody's timing.
That's all
it.
right.
I'm off the show.
It
Kick
doesn't
me off.
matter. Yeah. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. There we go.
I'm going to be your guy's stat boy soon. Like Mike Francesa.
You just got to wear, like, the glasses and have, like, paper just everywhere and just kind of the pocket protector, too, with, like, a calculator or something just off to the side.
Oh, boy.
All right. So, yes, looked like you were about to say something,
No,
Mr. Daly.
Just thinking.
Bro, Brian was just like, he was so excited he wanted to say something,
No.
but he just retreated it to his mind, retracted it, never to be seen again or spoken of.
It's getting to that time of the day where we're getting a little bit of delirious.
A little loopy.
I've been there since about 12:01.
Good. Stay there. It's good. It does the body good. Moving on. We've been going through our top NHL teams here, and we are now at the top 3. So let's get to the nitty gritty, and I'm going to start it off here with my number 3, the Pittsburgh Penguins from 1991 all the way up till 1997, which is where I would say the cutoff point is for that super team. That was when Mario Lemieux officially retired. Well, not officially. He retired for the first time. Then he came back eventually. But that team had Yager, it had Lemieux, it had Barrasso, it had Paul Coffey. And then Paul Coffey went and became a Flyer. And then
Recchi early on.
Recchi
Yeah.
in his rookie year. You know, they had all kinds of people on that team. They had, what's his name? Trottier. They had Trottier. That's right. They had Trottier on their team. I mean, they had everybody. For Christ's sake, how could you beat that team? Well, I don't know how the Islanders did it in '93, but they managed to pull it off. I mean, thank you. But still, amazing that they were able to pull that off.
Surely. No, I mean, I had them on the list earlier, particularly the 91 team. Definitely a dominant force in the NHL that probably should have won more cups than they did.
Yeah, and actually, come to think about it, how the hell did the Florida Panthers beat them in '90? Well, actually, how the hell did they beat the Flyers, too? You know what? I answered my own question. How the hell did they do that, you know?
Scott Mellenby.
Scott Mellenby and James Van Beesbrook.
Yes.
That's all you needed to know.
The Beezer.
Eddie Jovo.
Ed Jovanovski.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the team for
They
a
had
while.
a solid team then.
They did. That was the only time they did have a solid team. Because after that, they've been sucking since. Although this team now is probably as close to solid as they'll ever get, I would
Yeah.
have to assume. But anyway.
Yeah, 2 years ago they were pretty dynamite. Kevin Dineen coaching.
Yeah, they should have
Didn't last
beaten. They
long.
should have beaten the Islanders that year.
Yeah. What is it with the Islanders beating teams they have no business beating? What the hell is this? Between that, Penguins, and God knows how many other teams they should not have beaten.
Hey, they're a Cinderella story
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah. By
Okay,
their own choice, because
Yes.
they wound up handicapping themselves almost every year. But that's a different story. I think the Islanders are trying to break a record. They're trying to win a Stanley Cup by handicapping themselves. That's what they're trying to do. They're going to be the first team in history to handicap themselves and still win a Stanley Cup, because that's the only explanation I can figure out why the Islanders suck so often. But anyway, moving on to your number 3.
My number 3 is the team that I referenced earlier, the 83-84 Edmonton Oilers. One of the most talented teams in NHL history. They began a dynasty just 1 year after being shut down by the previous dynasty, aforementioned New York Islanders. With guys like Gretzky, Messier, Coffey, and others, the Oilers became a threat to be reckoned with, and they were subsequently only beaten twice through 1990. Fortunately for the Oilers, there will most likely be never a team like this one because of the salary cap and the inherent inability to afford a team with this many superstars. I mean, besides the names that I mentioned, Yari Curry, Glenn Anderson, Grant Fuhr, Glenn Sather, they put up 119 points that season on their way to a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Not much you could say, just wow. That's all you could say about that.
I mean, Gretzky really, on this version of the Oilers, really put himself on the map officially. I mean, obviously he was a good player previously, but this was like, the first of their dynasty years or what have you. And, like you said, the great one, made this team.
Yeah, I mean, that was their first year of establishing their soon-to-be permanent dominance over the NHL during that time period. So, hey, what better way? You vanquish an old dynasty by becoming the new dynasty. I don't think there's really any better way to enter and arrive in the NHL.
Take the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, pretty much. Oddly enough, though, both teams same color scheme. That's the oddest thing about it. But anyway, on to you, Mr. Daly. Your number 3.
My number 3 is right on point with Rob. 82-83 Edmonton Oilers.
All right. And now to my number 2, the Edmonton Oilers of that entire 1980s era. I mean, you could easily pick the separate teams, but why? That whole era, that was just their diamond year. Seriously.
Right.
The Oilers have been paying for it since, because now they finally are back to the playoffs. Actually, I think that's what the hockey gods, that was their punishment, why the Oilers sucked for so long. That was their payback for you dominated and anal raped the NHL for all those years. This is your years of getting anally raped by the NHL.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, am I wrong? They really did. Like, no one really matched them. Like, seriously.
Why do you have to say anal rape, man? It's like making my sphincter tighten up over here. I mean, why can't it just be rape? It's got to be anal. Well, I guess we're talking about dudes, so, you know what I mean? That's the only way by definition, in legal matters, it has to be penetration in the anus to be rape. Look it up. It's true. Oh, it's damn true.
I mean, let's be honest, too. Every time the Oilers took the ice, it was a prison scene every freaking time. Like, seriously. Every time. What team matched them? No team matched them.
No one, sir.
No one. Every team lost by double digits, especially the teams that really sucked back then.
Truth.
If you were the Washington Capitals back then, your ass was chapped by the end of that one, to say the least.
I knew just as soon as we signed on that this show was going to be so messed up.
All right.
Glorious.
Despite the Oilers leaving a lot of people's asses feeling chapped, on to your number 2, Mr. Rob.
It kind of in congruence to a team that you mentioned earlier, maybe a different year, though. I'm going with the 69-70 Boston Bruins. They're one of the best post-expansion teams. The 69-70 Bruins were led by defenseman Bobby Orr and center Phil Esposito. Their 12-2 playoff record is one of the best all time, as they swept both the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues in the final 2 rounds of the postseason. They put up 99 points with a record of 40, 17, and 19. And besides the guys I mentioned in Orr and Esposito, you had John Boychuk.
I believe it was, I think it was Busick, actually.
Busick, sorry, like Gary. Okay. John Busick and Gary Cheevers, who I
yes.
definitely remember Jerry Cheevers.
In goal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
He had a really cool mask, too. He had the tally marks on his mask.
And a hush falls upon the crowd.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be more to that. I was waiting for the next comment.
I was waiting, too, actually. I thought we were going to continue.
But
But
I'm getting talked out at this point. I want to give you guys more opportunity to talk. I'll keep it short and sweet.
all right, then. But actually, that Boston Bruins team ended a long drought, too, for the Bruins of not winning a Stanley Cup. So apparently the Bruins, they end long droughts. That's how they win their Stanley Cups anymore these days, because that's how 2011 happened, too.
Pretty
Albeit
much.
They ruined somebody else's parade by having a long drought end in their own right.
Very common in Boston sports,
yeah, pretty much.
with the Red Sox in 04 ending an extremely long drought.
Yeah.
Same thing with Chicago.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, minus the Blackhawks of the previous, 7 years?
Yeah. And not only that, too, Boston also has a habit of continuing people's long droughts or blowing people's parades, like, say, the Atlanta Falcons.
Blowing what? Let's not take it back there. Okay.
Yeah, let's stay on the road we're on.
We finally got back on the rails.
That's what
Yeah.
Boston fans do to themselves when, they look at their sports teams.
Oh,
So-
what, rails? Yeah, there's a lot of coke
yeah,
being done in
yeah.
Boston.
So that's a
yeah.
little different story. But anyway,
What have I got myself into
on
today?
to number 2 on the list for Mr. Brian Daly.
I'm like you, Maddie. Like, I can't pick a specific team when it comes to the Islanders here, especially in the 80s. So they're my number 2. Like, they had that nice dynasty run. Mike Bossy. Who else was on that team? I'm not sure. I'm not really the
All you needed was Mike Bossy.
historical guy. Yeah, Mike Bossy alone.
Legendary player.
Yeah, I know the coach's name from that point, but I'm blanking on his name for some reason. No.
Al
Is that it?
McGinnis.
No. The head coach.
No, oh, no, it wasn't Al McGinnis. What am I talking about?
I don't know. I'm not the history guy, Matty. You are.
Hold on. I know who their coach is. At least I used to.
Al something, I think it was.
Doug Waite?
No.
No,
That's
he's
currently. That's
no,
currently.
not
That's
Doug
showing.
Waite.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Why is it showing it there?
I
or
think
what?
Doug Waite was a baby when that was going on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty.
He was scoring goals on the little tiny goal thing you give to your babies.
No, here we go. Al Arbor.
That's it.
That's
Al
it.
Arbor, there
Uh,
we go. Al Arbor.
I knew
Thank
as soon
you.
as I see it, I was going to
Al
smack
somebody.
myself in the face.
Al McGinnis was a goalie. Anyway,
Yeah.
Al Arbor. There we go. That's who it was.
In the goaltending standpoint, two of the best of that era in Billy Smith,
Billy Smith,
and
yeah.
Chico Resch.
Oh, yeah, and Chico Resch. That's right.
Yeah.
Chico Resch.
Yeah, but Brian Trache was on that team. Dennis Potvin, but Mike Bossy. I mean, honestly, nobody in the 1980s next to Wayne Gretzky scored more goals than Mike Bossy.
Right. That's why I can't pick a specific team.
No, you can't. I mean, they just dominated. They really didn't even change that team that much anyway. It was just the same team year in and year out winning the cup.
Don't fix what's not broken.
True.
Yeah.
Now, on to my number one. Oddly enough, it is the New York Islanders.
It is odd.
Wow.
And the reason
number
why.
one. Wow.
Reason why is, if you look in the history and why the Oilers are number two, the Oilers are 5-1 in their Stanley Cup Finals appearances during that era. And the one team that beat them, the one team that can claim that beat them, was this team. That alone should pretty much tell you how good this team was.
Absolutely.
They beat them in a sweep, by the way. They swept the Oilers. Let that sink in for 2 seconds. Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Yari Curry, Grant Fuhr in their prime, Paul Coffey too, got swept by the New York Islanders, who were getting older by this time. Not only that, they wound up going undefeated in the postseason. And apparently they won enough cups, because that was the year before they had everything realigned. They had multiple series. They won enough to win 10 cups in series length by today's standards. That's how many series they had to win their 4 Stanley Cups.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about how dominant that is, how no one really could match that. Even the Oilers could not win more than 2 in a row because the Oilers lost when it was their chance to win 2 in a row. They lost.
Mm-hmm.
They got beat, albeit a little bad luck, but they got beat.
Yeah, no, the truth story, man. I mean, you look at the Islanders team from 80 to 83 winning those 4 cups in a row. That had been not previously done since you look at the Canadiens team dynasty of the 50s. So, I mean, I'm not hating you for putting them number one on your list, but I mean, I would certainly put a Montreal Canadiens team as number one, not of the 50s, but of the 76-77 variety.
I mean, that's true. You could say that, but it's just that team was phenomenal. No American franchise can ever claim they've done that. No American franchise. The only one that's in line to possibly doing that is Pittsburgh. And I highly doubt they'll do it because three-peating, let's be serious here for 2 seconds. It's not happening. All right.
You say that now. We didn't say 2 back-to-back. We said was not going to happen, too, and that did. But you raise a great point, though, looking at an American team accomplishing that, something that only had previously been done in Canada. It's honestly a great accomplishment that, kind of boosts your putting them at number one. I do go with the 76-77 Montreal Canadiens as my number one team for a couple of these reasons. They had 10 players hit the 50-point plateau during this legendary season, arguably to be the greatest team that ever stepped on the ice, even the famed Soviet Red Army team that couldn't lay the hammer on them. Their record was the best in NHL history with 68-12, good for 132 points. They glided through the playoffs, losing just 2 games en route to a sweep over the Boston Bruins. We mentioned several of these players previously, but I'll repeat: Guy Lafleur, Steve Shutt, Larry Robinson, who we didn't mention before, Guy Lapointe, Jacques Lemaire, Serge Savard, Bob Gainey, Ken Dryden, Sam Pollock, Scotty Bowman, and Yvonne Knorr?
Where's that? Yvon Cornier.
Corny, just like me. There you go. But, yeah, they're my number one team all time. 76-77 Montreal Canadiens.
All right. Mr. Daly.
Me and Robert.
Rosca goes, thank you for not saying the LA Queens. Nice.
It's true. That's true. I don't think either one of their Stanley Cup teams was considered great. They were good. They weren't great.
No, it was Johnny Quick. Let's just put that into perspective.
The year that they were the 8th seed, absolutely. But the second cup that they had, they definitely earned that one. They were a good team.
They did, but I still think when Quick woke up, they were going to get swept by those San Jose Sharks. The Sharks had them dead to rights, and if it wasn't for Quick waking up at that last minute, they would have been out in the first round. And then they just killed it after that. So,
yep. So yeah, me and Rob are on point again. 76-77 Montreal Canadiens.
All right then. So interesting.
That whole span from like 1975 to 1988. It was just really 3 teams that won the cup.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. And they were mostly Canadian teams. There was actually, funny part is, in the 1980s, no American club won the cup. They were all Canadian teams.
Aside from the Islanders.
Well, the Islanders, yeah. But after the Islanders, it was just Edmonton, Calgary, Montreal. That was it.
Then Pittsburgh.
Well, Pittsburgh didn't win until the 90s.
Yeah,
they were the ones that ended all of that entire lineage of teams from Canada winning the Stanley Cup. Because Pittsburgh finally won 2 straight, and then after that, the last Canadian team won a cup, which was the Montreal Canadiens in '93. Since then, no Canadian team has ever done it. That's the NHL's way of paying them back, because now Canada can't buy a cup anymore these days.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
But, yeah, I mean, hell, though, with the way that it seems now, it won't be long, though, before Canada ends their cup drought. Edmonton or Toronto's going to end it at some point. It's going to happen, just a question of when it's going to happen. That's the real question.
I think the closest team is definitely Edmonton.
In development-wise, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not even talking in development-wise. I think they'll be the first team from Canada to win a cup. I think they have the best all-around team.
Don't sleep on Ottawa.
I'm not sleeping on Ottawa. I just think Edmonton is going to be the quickest one to get it.
Watch it be Calgary. Watch it be Calgary.
Calgary, too. Calgary just got themselves a pretty decent goalie.
Yeah.
You can even make an argument for Toronto, although I don't see Toronto performing as well as they did last year.
Do you see them missing the playoffs?
No. I just don't think they're going to be that surprise team.
All right. Well, they won't be a surprise team because they were an absolute surprise this year. Now everybody's like, all right. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No. Not this time.
I think they'll be in a run for their division.
They have a great core of young players, but a lot of them being in their sophomore seasons this year. So maybe there's that slump to look forward to.
The infamous sophomore slump. It hit Shane Gostisbehere this past year.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, it could hit anybody.
Yeah, Sean Couturier's been in his sophomore slump for 3 years.
Yeah. When's he going to get out of that? Never.
When the Flyers trade him.
Yeah. He'll trade him. Watch us trade him to Columbus, the team that would have picked him, and he goes on to do phenomenal things like Sergei freaking Bobrovsky did in net.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Why, you love Coots?
He just doesn't get you today. Maddie.
To be honest with you, I thought you were talking about Shane Gostisbehere being traded.
No.
Yeah.
Why would I ever talk about that with Shane Gostisbehere?
And then I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, no, they didn't draft him. We did with that extra pick. Sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. It's okay.
Rob Povia, new to the program, just joining us. How you doing?
You are confirmed. You're all right. It's all right. Forgiven. All right. But anyway, so you got 2 minutes left in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I guess we could talk a quick WWE. It sucks, and then that's it. All right.
We got more time.
No, there's just 2 left in the segment.
Oh, 2 left in the segment. All right. Well, we can talk about quick WWE stuff.
Unless you want to wrap up the show, Maddie. What are you trying to say?
I didn't know.
Give me the hell away from Povia. He's nuts.
That's his job. I don't know. His job's to keep track of the time. He didn't tell me if it was a segment or if it was the show. I'm not keeping.
It's a 2-hour show.
Okay, I wasn't keeping track of the time. I wasn't looking.
They're
at
back
the
to
clock.
fighting, folks. Yeah. Nice.
I'm the host, damn it. You're the producer. Do your job.
I'm doing my job.
Big timing now.
Not very well today, but I'm doing my job.
I did my job for
Hey,
you guys.
are people hearing us? Are people hearing us? You
That's
did
a-
your job.
That is a good
Yes.
point. Are people hearing us? They are. So you did do your job.
Obviously, based on these immaculate
whole-
amount of comments.
Who
here.
cares about what the time is? Who cares? Time's always fleeting.
Well, I tell you what. You want me to run a couple around the league notes before we
Sure.
break? All right. Well, I mean, we talked about this before the show. Big doings in Columbus. Speaking of which, yesterday, as they signed head coach John Tortorella to a 1-year contract extension, good through the 2018-19 season. Are they basically saying put up or shut up to Torts?
Yes, they are. That is exactly what they're saying to Tortorella. So he better deliver, or his ass is going to see the door.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it's a listen, prove yourself this year, and if you get us back to the playoffs or even deeper into the playoffs, we're going to reward you with a bigger contract.
Now, the real question is, can Columbus do that? Because, I mean, they're not going to have the season they had this past year. That's a magical season. However, abruptly ended by the eventual Stanley Cup champions. You know what? That's what happened. It was supposed to be Columbus's year, and then Pittsburgh beat them, and then the Magic transferred over to Pittsburgh. That's what happened. That is what freaking happened.
I think you nailed it.
Yep. Damn it, Pittsburgh. You can never let anybody else have the limelight. It's always got to be on you because it's always got to be about you.
Damn it, Daryl.
Damn it. You had one job. That was lose, and you couldn't even do that. All right. But anyway.
Damn it, Carl.
Anything else you got on them
Yeah,
news and notes?
another signing, but this of the actual player variety. The Predators signed forward Ryan Johansson to an 8-year, $64 million contract last Friday. He proved dividends in that trade for the Preds, and certainly one of their biggest goal-scoring assets last playoffs. So inking him, I think, is a great idea.
I don't know if he's angry at the deal. I think he's just angry because it's Ryan Johansson.
Yeah, I just feel
It's a great deal for Nashville. I'm still a little bitter
Right.
over the
Little
Western
bit-
Conference Finals.
right.
bitter.
Even though he had nothing to do with it.
Little
Did he?
jelly about
No,
that.
he was.
No,
He kind of disappeared because wasn't he banged
He was
up?
hurt. Yeah. I was just trying to remember if he got hurt before that or
Yeah.
not.
It still
But a
doesn't
big reason
matter.
why they got that far, though.
Absolutely.
It still doesn't matter. I mean, let's be honest. We would have been cursing Patrick Kane in 2010, even if he wasn't playing in that Stanley Cup Finals, right?
Well, I mean, Patrick
why I
Kane
call
had
him a
the.
scumbag every chance I get.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, I mean, Patrick Kane also did score that game-winning or series cup-winning goal. So
But my
I mean,
point being, though, is even if it hadn't been him, we'd still be cursing his name,
Are laser beams coming out of my eyes yet?
Yes.
No,
I'm trying to
Deletion
hide
has
it.
begun.
Yes.
his eye's gonna pop out of his socket.
This was another big news since we last were on. The Dallas Stars will host the NHL Draft at the American Airlines Center for the first time on June 22nd and 23rd in 2018.
It's pretty cool. I kind of wish I went to the one that was here in Philly. Would have been a cool experience.
Yeah. I think we were trying to, but we didn't do it for whatever reason. Nah, well, who cares? Next time it comes, we'll go.
I'm good for going to Dallas. Let's go.
All right.
Next year, let's do
Down
it.
to Dallas. We'll
Sounds
stop
good
by
to me.
Vegas, too, on the way over.
We'll catch a game.
Yeah, catch a game. Catch a game.
Here
Quote,
come the
unquote.
cockroach
Quote,
comments.
quote,
Here they come.
Quote, unquote, catch a game. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yes.
But anyway.
Si, senor.
Well, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We ain't telling you shit.
That's
But
right.
Anything else on the news and notes?
That's all I got. I know, Brian, you were talking about a few other signings before the show. I don't know if you wanted to address them or.
A few
Oh,
extensions.
they're minor
deal.
minor
Alright.
moves.
But
That's great.
here's a
Um,
couple of news and notes, though.
Actually, real quick, I don't know if this is one of the ones you're going to bring up because just remember Nino Niederreiter re-signing a 5-year
yeah.
deal with Minnesota.
Yep.
Very well deserved, so I
Yeah.
don't think that's a no-brainer on Minnesota's part. On to a quick news note I have, actually, just announcing some of the special games that are being. Obviously, we know what the Winter Classic is. It's going to be New York versus Buffalo, but there'll be games in China, actually.
I heard about that.
Yeah, there's going to be games in the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Shanghai and the Lee Sports Center in Beijing, and it's going to be the Los Angeles Kings versus the Vancouver Canucks.
Nice.
Could have picked a better two teams, in my opinion, because Vancouver sucks right now. So probably would have gone with LA versus Anaheim. Probably would have been a safer bet. Maybe LA versus
Yeah, with two
San
West Coast
Jose.
teams too. Like it would make sense, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, even with Vancouver, it's just easier travel just to take the
Vancouver
two of the
team.
West Coast teams. Yeah,
I
the
get
West
it,
Coast
but
is
that was
fine.
why I was thinking like they could have picked two. They could have picked a better team for LA to face. I mean, my opinion. If you're going to be an ambassador, why pick a shitty team versus a good team?
Right.
You know, that's just my opinion.
I don't think Vancouver's going to be all that bad this year. They're not going to be a playoff team, but they're already on paper a better team than they were last year.
Yeah, more improved.
True. They're still shit though, but you know, I mean,
Vancouver's trying to pawn them off. Move to China. 'Cause, I mean, this is very synonymous with the London games. You know, with these games in China. Also, I believe in Stockholm, Sweden, they're going to be having games as well. It's all about spreading the brand on a more international level, albeit the player base is very international in terms of more fan base and maybe even down the road a future NHL team being across seas.
I don't know if they'd ever do that though. That's just crazy.
And it's always a debate. Same thing in the NFL too. Like, would they ever do that, or is this just posturing for the league to make money?
I think that's what it is, but it could be possibly. I don't know if either you guys remember the NFL Europe, maybe starting their own little NHL league over there.
Yeah.
They do have a hockey league not in they have one team from China, but they have like an Asian hockey league that's mostly in Japan.
Right.
But they might. I mean, it's a possibility.
And the Swedish league, I mean, is world renowned as well.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's right up there with, KHL, Swedish League, NHL. They're kind of all three really competing as some of the best leagues of hockey.
Hashtag Oscar Limbo.
Bring him up.
Yes.
All right. So we will go to break, and when we come back, we'll talk about a little WWE talk. We're going to talk about some wrestling on the other side. Hashtag it sucks. But we'll talk about it nonetheless on the other side. But first, we'll talk to you about the Scanzano Sports Center. They sponsor this show as well as they sponsor A2D Radio.com. They're located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. And if you need any of your skills to be built up, Scanzano Sports Center is the place to go. So on the other side, we hit the ropes, WWE talk. This is the Hockey Happy Hour on A2DRadio.com. A2DRadio.com is sponsored by The Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all your sporting needs. The Sports Outlet.
A2DRadio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com.
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape, then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
Fellas, you ever come in from that baseball or football game and your woman won't come near you because you stink beyond belief? Then you need Soap Stash. You should never settle for a generic hygiene product that only covers up the stench. Treat your skin with the best nutrients. Feel clean with the only soap you'll need. The highest grade carrier oils are ingrained in all of their products, which are 100% natural and terrific for your skin. No sulfates, parabens, or phthalates, and synthetic fragrance free. Contact Soap Stash for your sample package and give your woman what she deserves. You can contact Soap Stash at 844-890-3197 or visit them on the web at soapstash.com or Facebook at Soapstash LLC. Once again, their number is 844-890-3197. Soap Stash, the new soap standard.
You're listening to the Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2D Radio.com.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour. We are live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here on Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Speaking of which, have you ever wanted the ultimate driving experience? Well, then go to BMW of Atlantic City. They're easy to get to, minutes off at exit 37 of the Parkway, located at 6037 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Give them a call at 609-568-9200 or find them on the web at www.bmwatlanticcity.com. All right. I do believe that we have a comment coming through on the poll.
Absolutely. We got Vinny Massington chiming in, as he quite eloquently does on all of our posts here at A2D Radio, which you can as well. Search us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. A2DRadio.com is the place to be. Vinny Massington goes, in response to our question, which is in terms of what defines a great NHL team, a Stanley Cup, multiple Stanley Cups, legendary players, or other. He goes, the same goes in every sport, championships. That's it. Bottom line is that's, the more, I guess he'd probably be siding towards the multiple Stanley Cups because he uses, the plural championships. So that always defines a great team. We also put this poll on Twitter, which currently that choice of multiple Stanley Cups is leading with 50% of the vote. Tied for second with 17% of the vote is Stanley Cup and legendary players. And narrowly behind them, 16% with other. So certainly, we've made mention before of a good front office, a good farm system, top to bottom, feeding the monster. Absolutely. Really appreciate everybody chiming in, voting. You still have time to do so on Twitter. 22 hours left on the poll. Be interested to see what the final results are.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we talked about our top teams in NHL history. We went around the league and with the ongoings of what's going on with the NHL. Now it's time for us to hit the ring and talk about a little bit of some wrestling.
Yeah, three WWE fans, yeah.
Yes, as the 3 WWE fans, and since we are in the dog days of the off-season, might as well talk it. So, Obviously, for those who've been keeping track, Raw and SmackDown, since we last spoke about WWE, have since split, and they've had their superstars here or there. They've had their superstar shakeup. They've had their backlash since WrestleMania, and it's been a nasty one because the shows have been absolutely drudgingly boring for the better part of 3 months. Sometimes they have a good one. Sometimes you get a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, Raw 2 weeks ago, I believe I told you it was pay-per-view worthy, in my opinion.
Well, that one was okay. It's just there were other shows that are just like, oh, my God, it's in the mix of a lot of crap,
You know, I like that they're trying to diversify their weight class with the cruiserweights, right? They have their own show for that. I think that's where it needs to stay. Anytime the cruiserweights come on Raw is when I flick over to baseball. It just are they great athletes? Absolutely. I mean, TJP is the first one that comes to mind. Great athlete. Rick Swan. I always space on the Japanese guy.
Kira Tozawa.
Yeah, Tozawa is great. He's got a good gimmick with the ha. Keep it on 206. You know what I mean? I think it brings down Raw as a product, in my opinion.
Brian, what's your take on that?
Just lately, it's just all been garbage. There hasn't been anything entertaining.
Well, I want to know, could somebody answer, please, if anybody out there is a WWE fan, whether it could be on Facebook, it could be on Twitter, it could be on the chat on YouTube, what in the fuck are they doing with the United States title? Please tell me. I'm confused. First, you have AJ Styles win the belt in Madison Square Garden on a live show, not televised. Ruined my whole reason for going to Battleground, by the way. And then Kevin Owens wins it back at Battleground, just to lose it back to AJ Styles the following Tuesday on SmackDown. What are you doing? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. This is the same bullshit they were pulling with Charlotte and Sasha last year.
But it creates a nice rivalry, though, where it's like you win one, I win one, and it goes back and forth like that. Maybe not have the title always on the line for it is what maybe I'm hearing from you.
It's just you see, the weird part is it was one thing when they used to do it back in the Attitude Era because they had multiple people that were worthy of holding the title, and they wanted to keep their ratings up. But now it's just like they're doing it just for the shits and giggles of doing it.
Well,
you know?
I mean, to both your point and Brian's point before, I think they have more headlining talent now than they did back in the day. Do any of these possibly match the level of success that The Rock or Stone Cold or Mick Foley? No, I'm not saying that. But there's guys of that ilk, and there's many of them to the point where they had to split brands. So you kind of have to do it just to, keep guys in storylines because there's so many. And maybe it's watered down, Brian, and why you're finding it interesting because maybe you have too many. Maybe you have too many guys to build up to where there's never any guys that are getting let down.
Well, here's the other problem, too, is that they have mid-card talent, but they don't push their mid-card talent. Like, first of all, why has Sami Zayn not become United States champion by now? Why the hell is Baron Corbin not? Well, he'll probably cash in Money in the Bank at SummerSlam. Never mind. I'll retract that one. Why is Shinsuke Nakamura wasting his time with John Cena later tonight on SmackDown? First of all, John Cena is the stink of grisly death anymore. I cannot stand him. I couldn't stand him back in the day anyway, because just like, why is he on SmackDown?
I think we just officially became David Roska's favorite show because he was already always on tune with us on the hockey, and he also chimes in and says, I'm a WWE fan. So.
Okay. David, you're awesome. Please give me an answer. Do you know what they're doing with this United States title picture? Because it's confusing the hell out of me. And please tell me why John Cena's on TV. I hate John Cena. And if you're a John Cena fan, I still don't apologize. I still hate John Cena. It's just the way it is. I can't stand him.
He better not. American.
He better
love John Cena.
He better not beat Nakamura tonight clean. I'll be pissed if he does. It better be some kind of bullshit with Baron coming out. I'll be real pissed if they have Nakamura lose clean to John Cena. You get the hell out of here. Have Nakamura lose to John Cena, who's well past his prime and should just goddamn retire.
John Cena sucks.
Please.
John Cena sucks. No, I don't agree with that.
Oh man,
it is funny.
And it's not just I hate who's popular, because I like Roman Reigns that everybody else likes to boo. I don't mind Roman Reigns. He's cool, albeit he beat The Undertaker, which I don't like, but still, Undertaker was going to lose at some point. I'm fine with that. At least it wasn't John Cena who beat him, thank Christ. Why is he on TV? Like, seriously. I mean, obviously he's the cash cow, but still.
That's exactly why he's the cash cow.
But anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you got to think about how much, he's gotten into a lot of movies, a lot of Hollywood, and a lot of wrestling fans don't like that. They don't like part-time players or wrestlers, and I get that. But see, with Cena, as long as he wants to still, compete in the WWE, unlike The Rock, who, pretty much has left it, for an awesome movie and TV career. If you haven't watched Ballers yet, you got to. He's awesome in it. If he's gonna stick around in WWE, you got to utilize him because of the mic skills. I think, there's a lot of wrestlers these days that have awful mic skills, and, he's definitely one of the better ones at that. Can you disagree?
Well, okay, yes, he does have good mic skills. Unfortunately, they PG his crap. And it's just, oh, man, and it's annoying. And the fact that he was giving... I love America. I love my country just as much as the next guy. I love living in the United States. But, for God's sakes, do we need to give America a blowjob every single chance we get? I know we've done some great things.
Hey.
But we've done some bad things too. Like, seriously, why do we need to blow ourselves? We don't need to. We know we're a good country. A great country does not need to flaunt how great it is. Seriously, it doesn't.
In a Donald Trump-led free nation, absolutely, we got to. And who doesn't like a nice blowjob? Come on now. Anybody here, stand up if you don't like a blowjob.
There's a difference between getting a blowjob and giving yourself a blowjob. There's a distinction between the two.
True story. You got to have like a missing rib. I got to take a rib out. So in other words, Matt Harvey can blow himself.
I'm pretty sure that's most of the reasons why guys do yoga.
Yeah.
To do that, to blow themselves.
Roscoe's chiming in. He goes, John Cena should go. He is going to lose tonight. AJ Styles should be the longest reigning U.S. champ.
Actually, I don't know if he should be the longest reigning U.S. champ. He should have a long reign.
Longer than a week or two,
yes,
which has been what's
absolutely.
been happening. Yeah.
But and then at the same time, John Cena, yes, he should go. Will he lose tonight? I don't know about that. Because sadly, the rumor mill that's been sputtering has been saying that Cena's going to beat Jinder Mahal because it's going to be the U.S. versus India bullshit.
See. I may like Cena, but I don't want to see that, though.
And then Jinder Mahal, who's got talent, is going to get buried because he's going to lose to an old guy who should not be beating him.
And if
you know why they're going to have him beat him, right?
U.S. wins over India.
No. To
break Ric Flair's record.
Bingo.
Yes. There is that, certainly, and I could see that before Cena hangs him up in the WWE.
He's going to go down as the greatest wrestler in WWE history.
I mean, all this could still and I agree with you. I mean, all this could still go down, but if they have Cena beat Nakamura tonight, you're going to kill Nakamura's value. If Nakamura beats Cena tonight, man, that's just a great push for him.
It
is.
And
Cena could still go on and do what you're doing, or what you're saying, I should say.
But here's the problem. On the line is who faces Jinder Mahal.
Right.
And if the rumor's fair to be true, Cena beats Nakamura. Cena goes over Nakamura tonight. The biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard a day in my life. Because even if it was a legitimate fight, Nakamura would crush him.
Right.
But anyway.
And I don't see Nakamura. I don't see them putting the championship around his waist just quite yet.
No, because right now they got the Jinder Mahal thing going, and, there's really not much they could do. First off, you have a battle of accents, so that's going to be a problem to deal with. Well, not much of one from Jinder because he's Canadian. He's not from India, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's Canadian. Yeah,
what a fraud.
Yeah,
they had Rusev say he was from Russia when he first came out, and he's from Bulgaria.
Yeah, and his wife is not Russian, by the way. Lana is from Florida, by the way.
Her real name is C.J. Perry?
Yes. Good
so
God.
Hot.
She is hot, though. Yeah, that is true.
How do you think the modern divas and other characters measure up to past in terms of looks? I mean, obviously they're going, for a more athletic thing. And I mean, the women's division has never been finer. It's competitive. It's actually entertaining. You've had women's matches to headline Raw and SmackDown, which is great. And I love that. I'm not taking anything away from that. But how do you think they measure, looks-wise? Because, I mean, that's a big reason.
I think they're hotter now.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think they're better looking now.
Wow.
Yeah, well, think about it. Because you look back, besides Trish Stratus and Lita and a few others.
Tori Wilson.
Okay,
Sable.
Well, okay, let's define.
They never really
let's define
though.
Wrestler here for a quick second. They weren't there to wrestle. They were just there.
Stacy Keibler.
Yeah, they weren't there to wrestle. There was actually a story. Stacy Keibler was offered the women's title and she said no. because
Miss Tessmacher.
because she didn't deserve it. Which I give Stacy Keibler a whole hell of a lot of credit. She refused a belt that she knew she didn't deserve. So big props to Stacy Keibler.
I just
for doing
watched
that.
Stacy Keibler get put through the tables by Bubba Ray back in the day
Bubba.
when she was with the Dudley boys. Man, that was probably the finest 3 seconds of Bubba Ray Dudley's career, having Stacy Keibler right up here. You know what I mean?
I mean, that he also had Trish up there too.
Yeah,
he did at
buddy.
Backlash back in 2000 when Trish was in that little, outfit during that time period. Back when WWE was allowed to kind of cross the line, and they did every week.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, so a little bit of WWE talk to end the show. We'll have a little bit more next week if we got time, which we probably will because, in 2 weeks because we are going to be off next week as the whole station will be off next week, as a matter of fact. So as we go on vacation for
Thank God, I need it.
our summer break kicks in next week, we will return in 2 weeks, and I think we'll talk about cupless teams. We talked about teams that are great. Why don't we talk about teams that either were great and haven't won a cup, or teams that just flat out suck?
Oh, you're
and
talking
they-
back to hockey. I thought you were still on wrestling with the cupless. Sorry. Like Sasha, like your girl Sasha Banks is cupless.
That's not true. Have you seen pictures of her without her sports bra on?
I have not.
She's got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. So that'll do it for this week. Next week, we'll talk about cupless teams and a little bit of, I guess, cupless women next week on the show. Until then, it is time for last call, folks. We are the Hockey Happy Hour on A2DRadio.com. From all of us here, I'm Matt Sassuti. This is the Broken One, Rob Povia, and the Darkwing, Brian Daly, behind the board. We'll see you next week on A2DRadio.com.